In today's video, I am pushing all of my chips to the center of the table. We are going all in on these 10 players that I am betting my fantasy season on in 2025 fantasy football. Inside of today's video, we're going in depth through 10 different players who I believe are going to smash in 2025 fantasy football. And by the end of today's video, you guys will know exactly why you need to be targeting them in all of your 2025 fantasy football drafts. Before we get on into this breakdown, though, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. So without further ado, let's get into 10 players that I'm betting my fantasy season on in 2025. We begin with the first player that I'm betting my 2025 fantasy season on, and that is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs, running back of the Detroit Lions. Current ADP from ESPN, CBS, NFL Sleeper, Fantrax, and RT Sports have him as the RB3 at pick number 4. And honestly, I am fine taking him as high as pick number 3. Once Ja'Marr Chase and Bijan Robinson are off the board, I would be perfectly fine selecting him at number 3 overall. That is how confident I am in Jahmyr Gibbs. And frankly, when you see CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson go ahead of him, I am licking my chops if I'm the 6th overall pick and Jahmyr Gibbs falls all the way to me, which I'm seeing happen a ton in fantasy drafts. RB1 last season in PPR, RB2 in terms of points per game, back-to-back seasons inside the top 8 at the running back position in terms of points per game. And that is with Jahmyr Gibbs almost playing second fiddle to David Montgomery. Early on in games, the team would push David Montgomery down your throat. You would see a ton of David Montgomery early on, and you would almost be questioning what the decision-making is and why they are holding Jahmyr Gibbs back, because Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't getting a lot of work early on in games, and obviously, as they end up going deeper and deeper into the game, you see way more Jahmyr Gibbs, but there was games through Jahmyr Gibbs' career where the whole first quarter, he's basically doing diddly squat. So now, knowing all of the reports that have been mounting about the fact that David Montgomery really isn't going to be the guy early on in games anymore like he used to be, they're going to rock with Jahmyr Gibbs off Jump Street, and that makes me feel very, very confident in Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, this guy, without being the first back on the field in a majority of games, was the RB11 in carries last year, RB5 in rushing yards with over 1,400. He ranked 7th in targets, 6th in receptions, 3rd in receiving yards, and 1st in total touchdowns with 20. So imagine what he can do if they just give him a little bit more work and they reduce the workload of David Montgomery. Now, I understand that Ben Johnson leaving this offense and going to Chicago to be the head coach obviously isn't the most ideal scenario, right? That isn't the best outlook for the Detroit Lions this season. The best outlook would be, for some reason, he said, fuck you to Chicago and stayed in Detroit. That would be the best case scenario, but we don't live in that scenario, and ultimately everything will be fine even without him. I believe that this offense is still going to be one of the best in the NFL. Jahmyr Gibbs, already in his now 3rd year in the NFL, is one of the best running backs in the NFL. In terms of efficiency, he is nothing short of fantastic. 4th in fantasy points per opportunity, 3rd in true yards per carry, 3rd in yards per touch, 2nd in explosive rating, and 8th in yards created per touch. I believe very strongly that Jahmyr Gibbs has a clear path towards being the number 1 overall running back at the end of this season, and you can easily take him ahead of Saquon Barkley, in my opinion. And if you wanted to take him over Bijan Robinson, I am not going to argue with you at all. I love Jahmyr Gibbs this season, and I think that Dan Campbell and the crew are going to be chewing kneecaps all season long, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go nuclear. At number 2, we got Davante Achane, running back of the Miami Dolphins. Current ADP running back 8 at pick 14, the 2nd pick inside of the 2nd round in a 12-team league. Now, Davante Achane has been falling down draft boards due to his injury, right? A lot of people were nervous. Hey, he's dealing with this injury. Maybe he won't be good to go for week 1, despite the fact that everything that's came out of Dolphins camp has told us he's going to be good to go for week 1. People want to panic anyways. Now, today we got the report that Dolphins running back Davante Achane will be ready for week 1 versus the Colts, according to GM Chris Grier. So now, even if you didn't believe those reports, you thought they were straight up fugazi, now The GM is telling us that he is going to be good to go. So there is absolutely zero reason to panic when it comes to Davante Achane. The RB5 last season in PPR and the RB6 in points per game, back-to-back years inside of the top 6. 17 games played last year, 11 games played with Tua, and then the other games were played without Tua. Now, with Tua Tagovailoa, Davante Achane was the RB2 in terms of points per game, averaging 21.7. Without Tua Tagovailoa, he was the RB42 in points per game, averaging just 8.6 PPR points. So a lot of the upside definitely is kind of stuck with Tua's health. If Tua is able to stay healthy, if he's able to put up a full 17-game season, then Davante Achane can easily be the running back one in all of fantasy football. And honestly, I do believe that if Tua was to get hurt this year, knock on wood, the backup quarterback situation is a whole lot better than yet last season, where we are seeing some absolute fucking dumbasses going out there playing quarterback for the Dolphins. So if something was to happen to Tua, I do think that Davante Achane will be a bit better, but obviously we are riding on the health of Tua, because if Tua stays healthy again, Davante Achane could easily be the RB1 in fantasy football. There was only one running back that was able to put up 10 plus receiving points per game last season. It wasn't Jahmyr Gibbs, it was Davante Achane. So the upside is very much there, and I honestly think had Tua have not gotten hurt last season, Davante Achane would have been a top 2, top 3 finisher at the running back position, and potentially could have finished as the RB1. This is a guy with 30 plus point upside in any given game. So if Tua is able to stay healthy, Davante Achane is a certified smash at ADP, and frankly, I think he should be going in the first round, so I'm scooping up that discount all of the time inside the second round. And again, while his ADP is the 202, I'm seeing him fall to the 205, 206, because some people, spoiler alert, they don't pay attention to the current news. He might still have a questionable tag on NFL, ESPN, Yahoo, and you're going to be able to potentially get him even later. So I love Davante Achane, and at pick number 14, I am feeling real nicey about that. After Davante Achane, we are going to move to Drizzy Drake London, wide receiver of the Atlanta Falcons. Current ADP wide receiver 10 at pick 22, the 10th pick inside of the second round in a 12-team league. Now, Drake London has been a guy that I've been giving the Gawk 9000 special to all summer long, and honestly, I'm just going to keep doing it because Drake London really was that good down the stretch of last season with Michael Penix Jr. as the lead quarterback on the team. Through the final 3 games this season, week 16, Drake London had 8 targets. Week 17, up against the Commanders, he had 13, and Week 18, up against the Carolina Panthers, he had 18 total targets. In those games, he was the wide receiver 41, the wide receiver 24, and the last week of the season, he was the wide receiver 1, scoring 40.7 PPR points. From Week 16 through Week 18 with Michael Penix Jr. at quarterback, he had 39 targets, first at the wide receiver position, 352 yards, first, and 19.4 half PPR points per game, ranking first at the wide receiver position. We already know that Drake London and Michael Penix Jr. have an elite connection, that these guys trust each other like Mario and Luigi, and I truly do believe that this is going to be the biggest season of Drake London's career, and people are in straight up slumber. They're in their REM sleep when it comes to drafting Drake London, because he should be going in the early second round. When people are taking BTJ, you should be considering taking Drake London immediately after that, and yet he is still falling to the end of the second round in 12-team leagues. Drake London, I get, hasn't really had that true humongous season in terms of points per game, but he was the wide receiver 5 overall last year in PPR. He is one of the best contested catch wide receivers in all of the NFL since 2023. He has the most contested catches with 39. I understand that Michael Penix Jr. to many is still a project. He is still a question. People have question marks written all over him, like his name was the Rizzler, and by Rizzler, I mean the Riddler with Batman. But ultimately, I still think even if Michael Penix Jr., we fast forward 3-4 years from now and he's still, not the franchise guy for the Falcons, he is the guy for Drake London, and I believe Drake London is going on a one-way trip straight to the moon interstellar style. Next up, we move to Chase Brown, running back of the Cincinnati Bengals, ADP running back 12 at pick number 25. He is currently coming off the board as the first pick inside of the third round, but if you really want Chase Brown, you should be taking him at the end of the second round to allow yourself to get him, because honestly, I think in most smart leagues, most sharp leagues, most leagues that you're playing in with people who know shit about fuck, they're going to be drafting Chase Brown inside of the end of the second round. And that is because all of the drumbeat this summer has been nothing outside of very, very positive about Chase Brown. Offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher says Chase Brown is going to, by the end of the season, be a household name. He's everything Austin Eckler was. You'll all know who he is. I get the Cincinnati Bengals defense is a complete and utter unmitigated disaster. If you look outside and you're driving down the street, you will see, when it's garbage day, a bunch of versions of the Bengals defense because there's fucking garbage cans everywhere. The Bengals defense reeks to high heaven, and normally that might be a bad thing for a running back because they're going to have to ease off the run late and air the ball out. Well, guess what? Chase Brown, since they just compared him to Austin Eckler, he is going to be getting a bunch of pass catching opportunities out of the backfield, and he is going to be fine even if the Bengals are getting reamed game in and game out defensively. Last year, he ranked 6th in targets, 5th in receptions, and 13th in receiving yards. He scored 11 total touchdowns as the RB number 12 in terms of that. He was the RB 14 in points per game and RB 10 on the season. From weeks 9 through 17, when the team truly gave him the keys to the backfield, shout out to DJ Khaled, he was a top 12 running back in 6 of 8 games, top 8 in 5 of 8 games, and 4 of 8 games inside of the top 5. From weeks 9 through 17 as the guy, he was the RB3 in PPR points per game, averaging 20.6 PPR points per game earlier on in the season when he was playing second fiddle to Zach Moss. He's the RB30 in points per game with 11.3 PPR points. So with Zach Moss out of the picture, it is Chase Brown season. Last year without Zach Moss, in 8 games, 18.9 carries per game, 5.5 targets per game, and the RB1 in expected PPR points per game. I expect the Bengals offense to be tremendous yet again, and I think that Chase Brown right now, coming off the board sometimes inside the third round, he is a complete and utter steal. At number 5, we got his teammate, Higgins, wide receiver of the Cincinnati Bengals, ADP wide receiver 12 at pick number 30, the 6th pick inside of the third round of 12-team leagues. Now, last year was definitely his best finish in his career. 4 points per game, wide receiver 17 on the year in 12 games, and the wide receiver 6 in PPR points per game. 2 top 12 point per game finishes in his career. 4 of 5 seasons with 108 plus targets. Out of those 12 games, he had 4 top 9 finishes. He returns from injury in week number 3. And then, he's kind of getting his legs from out under him, right? He's getting his toes wet. He's dipping into the, the shallow end before you go balls deep into the deep end of the pool. Getting his body accustomed to the water. He didn't just dive right in Michael Phelps style, right? It took some time. But from weeks 5 through 18, once he got his legs from out from underneath of him, he was the wide receiver 2 in PPR points per game, averaging 20.3 points per game. Again, the Bengals defense is straight up putrid. They are going to be in firefights, dog fights late in games. They are going to be having to heave the piss missile deep down the field, and T. Higgins is going to be very involved in that. So even with Ja'Marr Chase being there, T. Higgins was simply that phenomenal. And it's important to understand that this is an offense where multiple guys can eat, right? This isn't just a system where only one guy can really do much, right? It's a yin and yang offense. Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins can both coexist. Last year in 12 games, he missed 2 games with a hamstring, 2 games with a quad injury. He had 109 targets, 9.1 per game, 6.1 receptions per game, 75.9 yards per game, and in 12 total games, he had 10 total touchdowns. He ranked 5th in red zone targets, 21st in dominator rating, 9th in target quality rating, 16th in contested catch rate, 20th in yards per team pass attempt, and 24th in fantasy points per route run. Joe Burrow is able to lift all tides here in this offense, and I think that T. Higgins and Chase Brown, as well as Ja'Marr Chase, they're going to be triple teaming defenses all season long. At number 6, we got Davante Adams, wide receiver of the Los Angeles Rams, ADP wide receiver 17 at pick 40, the 404, like it's an error. Wide receiver 11 in PPR last year, wide receiver 10 in points per game. 9 straight seasons as a top 15 point per game wide receiver, with 8 of 9 seasons inside of the top 12. A lot of people are going to be scared to draft Davante Adams because he's another year older, and because now Puka Nacua is there. This is the exact situation, Control-C, Control-V, copy-paste, as the Cincinnati Bengals last season with T. Higgins and Ja'Marr Chase. Both of these guys can coexist inside of the offense and both succeed. Puka Nacua is a guy who's going to get it done in fantasy football by getting a redonkulous amount of volume. That's how he gets it done. Davante Adams doesn't necessarily need that crazy volume for him to score 8+ touchdowns and still be incredibly valuable in fantasy football. If Matthew Stafford is to stay healthy, I think there's a very strong argument you can make that this is a guy that will finish inside of the top 12 at the wide receiver position when the season comes to a close. He's been putting up big numbers in Green Bay, putting up solid numbers in Viva Las Vegas. He put up numbers on the most cursed franchise, or one of the most cursed franchises in the NFL, the New York Jumbo Jets. And what's he going to do with Matthew Stafford, Matthew Snapback, and the LA Rams offense? He is going to eat yet again. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that if you're getting Davante Adams in the 4th round at a very big discount, you should be taking advantage of that. It's like a Black Friday discount the day after Thanksgiving for everyone in fantasy football, because Davante Adams should be going much higher than this. Next up, we move to Tony Pollard, running back of the Tennessee Titans, ADP running back 27 at pick 72, the 12th pick inside of the 6th round. Now, before we talk about Tony Pollard some more, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious, you'll receive a free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash, as well as getting my draft rankings for free sent to your email as long as you deposit $10 and play in at least one contest. If you're like, Nick, what is Underdog? Well, Underdog is the best part about fantasy football. They have best ball drafts where there's no waivers, there's no trades, there's no in-season management. It's just the draft, and that's it. At the end of every single week, Underdog automatically puts the highest scores into your lineup for you. Their biggest contest, Best Ball Mania, $15 million in prizes, $2 million to first place, $25 to enter. You might be thinking $25, that seems like a little too much. You could also enter the puppy. $5 to enter, $100,000 to first place. Make sure you guys check that out using promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description down below. And if you just want my rankings and you're already on Underdog, or you don't want to sign up on Underdog, sign up using the link in the video description to the Patreon, $12.50 a month. So back on into things here with Tony Pollard. Now, earlier on in the offseason, if you asked me about Tony Pollard, I would have told you, why in the hell are you drafting Tony Pollard when you can just get Tajay Spears a couple of rounds later, get that discount, and then you are going to have potentially a 1A, 1B situation in Tennessee with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. But how quickly have things changed? Because as always, once we start to get excited about Tajay Spears, once Tajay Spears starts to really crawl into our brains and make us have these bad thoughts about Tony Pollard, the man gets hurt again, and it honestly is sad. Adam Schefter reports that the Titans will place Tajay Spears' ankle on the IR list with a designation to return. Spears will be forced to miss at least 4 games as he deals with a high ankle sprain. The 24-year-old tailback's workload will be replaced with a few more touches by Pollard, with Julius Chestnut, Joey Chestnut's brother, operating as the backup tailback. Now, I still think Tajay Spears, maybe late in the season, could have some value. But ultimately, if Pollard is running good, if Pollard is playing well, then the team has zero reason to pull back his workload to give the ball to a guy that has been out for a while with a messed up ankle. So Tony Pollard, a guy who's had 3 straight seasons as a top 24 point per game finisher. Last year was his first year in Tennessee. The prior 2 years were when he was in Dallas back in 2022. He's the RB8 in points per game. I fully understand that this offense was not very inspiring last season, right? This was an offense that was almost comically bad. It was shockingly bad. It was hard to watch at points, but even with the offense being a steaming pile of dog shit, we still ended up seeing Tony Pollard finish decently well. So without Tyjae Spears now competing with Tony Pollard, I think Tony Pollard is going to get out on the right foot, and he's going to continue as the lead back on the team, and he is a great value right now as the RB27 in fantasy drafts. And honestly, with drafts so quickly approaching, I don't think the ADP is going to be able to adjust for this injury news with Tyjae Spears, because we heard this news yesterday. We've known he's been hurt for a while, and Tony Pollard's ADP, frankly, on these websites really has not moved at all. At number 8, we got David Njoku, the chief tight end of the Cleveland Browns. ADP tight end 9 at pick 82, the 7.10. He was the tight end 11 last year in PPR, tight end 4 in points per game. 11 games played last season, 3 games with a high ankle sprain missed. 4 games missed at the end of the season with a hamstring strain. And still, only 11 games. He finishes with the 6th highest amount of targets, 97, 8.8 per game, 64 receptions, 5.8 per game, 10th, 505 receiving yards, 17th, and 5 total touchdowns, 9th. In terms of efficiency, 5th in dominator rating, 16th yards per team pass attempt, and 11th in contested catch percentage. So for one, David Njoku is just a very safe bet. Again, he has finished 3 straight years inside of the top 8 at the tight end position in points per game, and he's coming off the board as the tight end 9. And I get it, right? When you think about drafting a Cleveland Brown, in your head, you might get the Mayday. You might get the panic button. You remember back in the day where there was the Staples commercials, they'd hit the button and it was like, that was easy, right? Your brain hits the button that says, shit, fuck, what's going to happen? I'm going to draft someone on the Cleveland Browns. This is not good. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Well, in my opinion, while you might have panicked in prior seasons, and I get Joe Flacco isn't going to be the franchise guy for the Cleveland Browns, David Njoku in just 6 games with Joe Flacco, including the 2024 wildcard game, 37 catches for 438 yards, 244 of yak, and 4 touchdowns. From weeks 13 through 17 with Joe Flacco, 2023, David Njoku was averaging 18.2 PPR points per game as the tight end number 2. Joe Flacco, trust David Njoku. David Njoku has always had the ability. In my opinion, the quarterback position was basically just trying to drown him, pony boy style, in the outsiders. So I feel very, very good about David Njoku here with Joe Flacco. And if you're feeling like, hey, maybe they're going to bench Joe Flacco, maybe then you just want to ship David Njoku off on the expensive when he is finishing that well early on the season. Next up, we move to Big Cock Brock Purdy, quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. ADP quarterback 10 at pick 90, the 806. Back-to-back top 10 point per game finishes. Even with last year, everyone dropping like flies. Every player that could have gotten hurt for the 49ers got hurt, and still Brock Purdy finishes inside of the top 10. The guy got paid the big buckaroos in the offseason, and in my opinion, he was very deserving of that. When healthy, they have Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, and Christian McCaffrey. They have a good offensive line, so I feel very confident when it comes to projecting Brock Purdy to be a top 10 quarterback again. And sometimes I'm seeing him come off the board as like the quarterback 13, 14, 15, because everyone just starts to feel a pit in their stomach when they have to select Brock Purdy for some reason. Because in a lot of people's heads, Brock Purdy is like old school Tom Brady, right? Just a statue like Peyton Manning in Denver, a straight up statue, can't move at all. But Brock Purdy actually last year ranked 12th in carries, 11th in rushing yards, and he had 5 rushing touchdowns, ranking 7th at the quarterback position. Now, I'm not saying he's going to rush for 300 plus yards again, but I do think he has potentially a 200 rushing yard floor with at least a touchdown or 2, added on top of the fact that he is in a Kyle Shanahan offense with one of the easiest schedules, if not the easiest schedule in the National Football League. And again, people hate Brock Purdy. They don't think he's very good. Well, last year he was 6th in QBR, 14th in red zone accuracy rating, 3rd in yards per attempt, and 8th in fantasy points per dropback. In terms of quarterback expected points added through the first 40 games, look at this graph. Patrick Mahomes all the way at the tippy top. We know Patrick Mahomes is great, man. I can't wait to hear how they talk about how good Patrick Mahomes is, and they literally suck him off through the television. I can't wait to hear that. It's just the best part about football season. Everyone loves that. But Brock Purdy is right up there with Patrick Mahomes. Again, am I saying Brock Purdy's Patrick Mahomes? Fuck no, baby, but Brock Purdy is much better than everyone will give him credit for. Final player, we got Matthew Golden Scar, wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers, current ADP wide receiver 43 at pick 95, the 11th pick inside of the 8th round, and he is quickly rising up draft boards. Matthew Golden caught 1 of 2 targets in the Packers preseason game in week 3 up against the Seahawks. That's not really what matters, but that's the headline of the article thingy that I read, the blurb. Golden drew the start at wide receiver alongside Romeo Doubs, with Christian Watson and Jaden Reed both unable to suit up for the 3rd straight preseason game. Watson is reportedly set to begin the regular season on the PUP list, while Reed recently shed the walking boot but failed to appear in a preseason game, setting the stage for Golden to begin the season as the team's top pass catcher. He certainly has looked the part throughout the offseason, something Packers fans and fantasy managers are hoping to continue once the games count. Now, I understand that Jordan Love throughout his NFL career really hasn't had that trusty ace in his sleeve wide receiver. Rodgers had Jordy Nelson, then he also has Randall Cobb, and then he gets Davante Adams, right? He always has that right-hand man. Jordan Love hasn't had that, but Matthew Golden could become that. Now, Matthew Golden was a first-round NFL draft pick in 2025, the 23rd overall pick in 2025 NFL draft. 16 games played at Texas in 2024, 58 receptions on 86 targets for 987 yards, 17 yards per reception, and 9 receiving touchdowns with a 15.9% target share. Now, I understand he never once in college eclipsed 1,000 receiving yards. And to some, that puts a lot of red flag. There's a lot of red tape around the name of Matthew Golden. But frankly, Matthew Golden, the more I start to think of it, kind of feels like the BTJ of last season, right? Where his ADP really only started to rise once we got to the final parts, the final legs of the race, where right now, some people already drafted. A lot of people are going to be drafting very, very soon. We're right at the end, and his ADP is rising, but it's not going to catch up to like the 6th potential round where Matthew Golden may have been going if this hype started a couple of weeks ago. If he is the true wide receiver 1 in Green Bay in this offense, then Matthew Golden legitimately has top 24 upside as a rookie and could become a very big steal in fantasy drafts, going close to pick number 100 overall. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you didn't enjoy today's video, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. While you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantay. Check out my rankings over on Patreon. Use the link down below. $12.50 a month for my rankings. I also will be posting stuff during the regular season as well. I love you guys so much. Check out one of the videos on our screen if you haven't seen it already. Hope you have a great one. As always, good boy!